pain in the ass fighting Lionels and shit, but I'm not complaining about that because that's like the point of the game.
I fought one the other day, and it wasn't too difficult.
I have yet to kill one.
I gotta burn that. I don't have a stick.
You don't have to burn it, I don't think, actually.
I don't. Then what do I do?
Pick up the sword.
I have to hit it with the sword?
I think hitting it with the sword works.
I mean, it is a bigger sword.
Yeah. Just throw it at it. There you go.
Look at that. That's why my consultant is here.
I'm your consultant now?
Maybe. What's your other use? I mean.
Hey. Okay, fine. Let's see you get to the rest of this dungeon without me.
Okay.
Nah.
It's too much trouble after I thought about it.
But yeah,
I only have half a heart here.
Yeah, I won't complain about Breath of the Wild's challenges with the fights because it's like the point of the game, and that's what makes it fun, is trying to find new and interesting ways to defeat these overpowering enemies. But God, my favorite part of Zelda games was the story and the dungeons, and that's like the two biggest things they really cut out in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, I do like what they did with the story and kind of finding it on your own, and it, like you said, it is good.
Yeah,
but
I just wish that each section had been bigger.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, for example, the first, when on my own playthrough, and this is separate from the YouTube playthrough if you follow my channel, I did Von Meadow first. I did the Rito tribe. And this was the first, this was my first experience with story for Breath of the Wild. And I showed up, I saw a cutscene with Von Meadow flying over the village. I talked to a guy, and he said, hey, go to this location. So I went to this location, talked to a guy, and he said, alright, cool, do this challenge. Did the challenge, and then he was like, alright, you're ready to go, here, let's go fight Von Meadow. And I'm like, I talked to 2 people and did 1 training challenge. I did the entire story up to getting onto Von Meadow in 5 minutes.
Yep, so we're going to go ahead and save this and continue, of course, but just to kind of give me that save point.
Yeah. So it felt really disappointing that I was like, sweet, I get to have this whole story mission stuff with the Rito, this is going to be cool, this nice build up to getting on Von Meadow. Oh, I'm already on Von Meadow, okay.
Yep.
And then, you know, went to the dungeon. That Von Meadow, I think, was Von Meadow was my favorite dungeon to fight because it took the longest. Not because it was tough, but because I died more on it. And it just because it was like falling, which I kept falling off the damn thing. But
falling off the bird?
Yeah, I kept falling off the bird. And it was a little bit more challenging with its puzzles.
Never fell off the bird. Ooh.
So, I had more trouble with Von Meadow than I did any others.
Oh.
Varuta, I made it through in no time at all.
Well, it'd be nice if they'd keep hearts in this thing. You know, it's supposed to be this huge thing, you know. Keep a little hearts even in here.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Varudan, no, correction. Naboris. Was it Naboris? Is that the name of the...
I'm not good with names.
There was... Rudania was the Goron one. Then there's Ruta, which is the Thora one. Meadow is the Rito one. What's the name of the... Is it Naboris?
Naboris. Probably.
Or was that the name of the chick?
I don't know, but it sounds familiar. Whatever it is.
Okay, well, Naboris is what I'm going with.
Yep.
I'll make an exception. That was the toughest one.
Okay.
That one. Okay, I liked Von Naboris. It had plenty of story setup. Okay, because you had to go into the Yiga clan, you had to get the helmet back, you had to do all the mission to get onto it. It felt like there was a decent bit of story leading up to getting that. Because then you had to go through the whole trouble of getting the female Link outfit beforehand as well. Like, you know, I felt like I earned that dungeon. And then the dungeon itself was actually pretty challenging. It was it was actually tough. And then fucking hell, fighting the boss.
Turning the stomach and everything.
Yeah, turning the stomach was actually pretty challenging and puzzling. And then fighting the boss was a pain. He was the toughest boss of the 4.
I absolutely agree with that one.
Von Naboris was the only dungeon in Breath of the Wild that I really enjoyed, and it felt like a proper dungeon. The other 3 were lackluster in story leading up to the dungeon, and lackluster in dungeon challenges. It just... That's really my only issue with Breath of the Wild, is my 2 favorite parts of Zelda games was cut out.
Is there a bomb flower around here?
You'll have to go around the rock. It's above on the other side.
Okay.
Like, I love Windwaker's dungeons. They're amazing. And then every Zelda game up until Breath of the Wild has great story, except for maybe the first 2 because they're pretty open.
Right.
I've not even beaten them really, but you know they're pretty open.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everybody knows Ocarina of Time is a great story. It's like still like top 25 games of all time.
Yeah. So I mean, you can't say that one's.
You gotta stay hanging on the ledge.
Do I?
Yep.
Fine. I hate hanging above my potential death.
So I gotta ask, what's your favorite dungeon in any Zelda game? What's your favorite dungeon?
In any Zelda game.
Yes.
You know, I've never really thought about it. I just play a bunch of Zelda games.
Yeah. Oh yeah, everybody. Oh, I mean, everybody. Probably if you're watching this video, you probably do.
Yeah.
But for me, like when it comes to thinking about it, it's like there's one dungeon that I would love to play over and over and over again. I would have to say it's probably
a water dungeon.
No, God, no, not a water dungeon. Fuck water dungeons. Fuck water dungeons so much.
Okay. Anyway.
I think probably it would be. You know, I think honestly it's the spirit temple from this one. Maybe. No. The wind temple from this game. This game's wind temple is my favorite. Now you haven't experienced the wind temple. It's a bit of a pain in the ass, and it's slightly confusing. But I think that adds to how fun it is to play. Link, have you seen any filthy thieving rats around?
That was...
Well, alright then. No need for name calling, jeez. I know they're annoying, but keep your wits about you, they're only rats. If you spread bait near their nest, they may share their store of treasure with you. Why don't you try it?
Do I? No, I don't.
You don't feed the rats. That's like rule 1 of having pests. You don't feed them, because then they keep coming back.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, go on.
But it's a bit of a pain in the ass, and it's challenging, and it's got a confusing layout. It's one of those dungeons where you kind of backtrack on yourself a little bit. And it's also one of the dungeons later in the game where you've got, like, a partner with you. You've got Makar, who is, like, a follower, and you've got to, like, mind control him to get him through the dungeon as well alongside you.
Okay.
And it makes it really interesting, because it's got this whole...
Okay, I can't seem to open this.
Having the mind control follower mechanic is already making the dungeon more challenging and interesting on its own, because you have to protect them and use them to your advantage. But it plays really heavy with the wind mechanic and with the so you've got the flying leaf, so the Deku leaves you can use to fly around, and then you've got your iron boots, which play a part as well in launching you into the air and weighing you down. It's just I felt like it had a bunch of really good puzzles that were so simple that you almost didn't figure them out sometimes. Like a lot of times the dungeons were really simple concepts, such as, hey, you've got to push this block in front of you to stop these blocks, well, to stop these moving spikes from hitting you and to block the wind from pushing you, but you may not realize that. You know, you may look at it and say, okay, well, I've got to get past, I'm going to put on the iron boots, I've just got to get past these spike blocks to get to the wind, and then later realize, oh, wait a minute, the block will stop the spikes from hitting me.
Right.
So, it was a really, really fun dungeon. I enjoyed it.
Honestly, the very first Legend of Zelda game I played, and it can play over and over and over again. I have to fight that thing for a key, don't I?
Yep.
Is actually a 2D.
It was actually sitting in the nest. I forgot about that.
Okay.
You don't have to kill it. Although, if you get away so you don't fall off the ledge and kill it, it has a feather that is kind of rare.
But the Link to the Past. That's what I was thinking of.
Oh, well, fell off the ledge.
Well, oh well. Bully for that.
Link to the Past. I've actually never beaten a Link to the Past.
You should.
I beat the 3 dungeons in the overworld to get the pendants, and I have made it
In the overworld.
Yeah,
You have 2 overworlds.
well, in the main overworld, the light
World of
world,
Light.
the light world. And then I have beaten the first 4 dungeons in the dark world, but the 5th dungeon is in the swamp, and I cannot get into the fucking swamp. I've tried so many times
Really
throughout the
not
years.
that hard though.
I've never been able to figure it out. It's the one puzzle. I've never looked it up. I keep telling myself to look it up so I can beat it, but I just never have. It's the one dungeon I've never been able to get to.
Like I have 100% of that. Found every heart piece. Found every item. Everything, even the optional items. I beat every dungeon.
I've done that in Majora's Mask for the 3DS.
Majora's Mask actually isn't one that, like, it's super fun, but the part that's fun for me is just the 3 main masks. Like, other than that, it wasn't really that big for me.
What do you mean just the 3 main masks? You mean transforming and such?
Yes.
Yeah,
Being
yeah.
able to swim around as a Zora.
Yeah.
Roll
That's
around as
definitely
Goron. That was fun to do, but the game overall was just kind of a flop for me. Like, that's not to say, I'm not saying that it was a bad game, I'm just saying that it wasn't for me.
Yeah. It's definitely one of those games that isn't as fun because it's more stressful. Because that 3-day timer constantly ticking away beneath you. But it's one of those games where if you like a challenge, then you'll enjoy it. And I think that's probably why I think the Wind Waker Wind Dungeon is my favorite. Because for me, what makes a good dungeon, or even what makes a good game, is moments that can be enjoyed and a story that's captivating, but a challenge along the way.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't want to breeze through the story. I want to have a challenge, and that's why I like Majora's Mask. It's got a captivating story. It's got an interesting story, but god damn, is it tough.
Absolutely.
I mean, the first couple times I played through it, I never made it past. I could never fucking beat the water dungeon boss, which is the same for a lot of people. A lot of people had tough fighting Georg, or George, as some people call him. He was a pain. And then, okay, I have an experience to share. Whenever I played through Majora's Mask on the 3DS recently, up until that point, I had never beaten Majora's Mask. On the Nintendo 64 version, I had beaten the first 2 dungeons. I had beaten Georg. Sorry, I beat the first 3 dungeons because I had beaten Georg, and I'd made it to the 4th dungeon. But I had never made it through the 4th dungeon.
Right.
Just on the Nintendo 64 version, just never got around to it.
Right.
So when I got the 3DS version, borrowed it from my brother, I said, okay, I'm going to sit down as often as I can. I'm going to finally beat this game. It's been 12 years since I first started playing it. I would like to finally beat it.
Right.
So I started playing through the dungeon, and I remember the first time fighting Georg in Nintendo 64. It was a pain in the ass, but it was simple.
Right.
You sit on the platform, you shoot arrows when he comes up, you dive into the water and you electrocute him, and then you get back on the platform and repeat. Okay? Well, I was fighting him, and I was doing that, and I get this cutscene thinking, there we go, finally fucking beat Georg. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, fuck. The platform I'm on is sinking into the fucking water. They added in a second half of the boss fight for one of the toughest boss fights in the game, so that now the entire second half of the fight is completely underwater. I was fucking terrified. I had no idea what to do. I was like panicking, trying to figure out how to beat this guy. Thankfully, I beat him on that same life without having to redo the whole thing, but it scared the hell out of me. Because at the time, I was even fighting for time. I was on like the last 6 to 10 hours of the final day fighting Georg, thinking, I'll just beat this guy real quick since it's a simple fight. All I gotta do is stay above water. I can do this, get the cutscene, and then save and go back in time.